Malaysia has two different types of taxes, which are direct tax and indirect tax. Direct tax is a tax charged on the income and wealth of a person or business. It is payable directly to the government. For example, income tax that collects from company, individuals, and petroleum. LHDN, Malaysia Inland Revenue Board, is the government body who is responsible for this direct tax. Meanwhile, indirect tax is a tax imposed on a customer who utilize the goods and services provided by business and pay to the government indirectly. For example, sales tax, service tax, custom duties, and excise duty. RMCD, the Royal Malaysian Customs Department, is the government body who is responsible for this indirect tax. Indirect tax is very important to generate revenue because it allows the government to collect more money from a range of products and services and also provide governments with a reliable and stable source of income even during economic downturns.
This is a sales tax from 2010 to 2019.
In 2010, Malaysia collected RM3.28 billion in import tax sales tax. As a company recovered from the global crisis, imports, sugars, car, electronic and raw material boost revenue. It was a strong start to decide and a reliable source for national development. In 2011, Malaysia collected RM3.58 billion in import tax. This growth came for higher import like cars and electronics. Stronger border checks helped improve tax collection and overall trade remained slow throughout the year. In 2012, import tax jumped to RM4.13 billion. This sharp increase showed more goods flowing in the both consumer and business. It became a key source of revenue for the government supporting and national spending needs. In 2013, Malaysia import tax rose to RM4.44 billion. There was a high demand for foreign goods like cars, electronic and materials. Business also need important components. Custom officers to ensure proper tax collection and strong global trade help boost revenue even more. In 2014, import tax hit a record high of RM4.81 billion. Major infrastructure projects like MRT drove machinery imports. At the same time, people spend more of foreign goods. Customs enforced tax laws strictly, which helped increase national revenue further. In 2015, import tax fell to RM2.02 billion as GST took over. Many goods were now taxed under GST instead of the border. In 2016, import tax dropped to just RM47.9 billion. GST fully replaced most border taxes, changing how revenue was collected. In 2017, import tax dropped to just RM1.56 million, the lowest in a decade. GST now covers almost all goods and the government no longer relies on an all-import tax system. In 2018, import tax rose to RM2.88 million after GST was abolished and SST returned. Sales tax applied to most imported again and custom resumed collection starting in September. In 2019, revenue from import tax soared to RM8.94 billion, the highest in the decade. SST was fully enforced, more goods were taxed, and custom improved collection efficiency.
Excise duty is a form of tax imposed by the government on certain goods and products, often those that are considered non-essential, harmful or luxury items. The common goods are alcohol, sugar-sweetened beverages, tobacco products, fuel, and others. This is a graph showing the excise duty collection in Malaysia from 2010 to 2019, which shows a fluctuating trend. In 2010, Malaysia collected 9.35 billion ringgit Malaysia in excise duty, but it dropped by 10% to 8.41 billion ringgit Malaysia in 2011. This was largely due to an excise duty exemption introduced for hybrid and electric vehicles to encourage their use. This exemption significantly reduced tax revenue from the automotive sector, which traditionally contributed heavily to excise duty. In 2014, excise duty collection rose by 0.73%, mainly due to a 14% increase in tobacco excise duty. The aim was to reduce tobacco consumption and boost government revenue. However, this led to concerns for tobacco companies who feel that the rise in legal cigarette prices will increase the already growing illegal cigarette market. From 2015 to 2018, excise duty collection fell sharply, driven by a growing illegal cigarette market. By 2018, revenue had dropped by over 38%, with illegal cigarettes taking up nearly 2/3 of the market share. This caused the government to lose significant tax revenue, highlighting issues with enforcement and smuggling. Excise duty revenues increased by 4.3% to 5.13 billion ringgit Malaysia in 2019. The government created a new revenue stream by imposing an excise duty of 14 cents per litre on sugary drinks. In addition to supporting environmental and health objectives, this initiative raised the possibility of future revenue opportunities by extending excise duties to other products such as plastics, high-fat foods, and weapon supplies.
Import duty, also referred to as custom duty, is a tax imposed on foreign goods that enter a nation via route sea or air. It's collected by the government to regulate the quantity of foreign goods, protect local industrial and generate revenue. Graph illustrates the annual value of import duty collected in Malaysia from 2010 to 2019. In 2010, Malaysia import duty collection was 1.97 billion ringgit Malaysia and go up to 2.03 billion ringgit Malaysia in 2011. The rise was mostly because of increasing demand for imported, complete built-up CBU motor cars. The collection of import duty increased to 2.28 billion ringgit Malaysia in 2012 as well as climbed to 2.52 billion ringgit Malaysia in 2013 due to increased demand for vehicles. In 2014, import duty grew to 2.67 billion ringgit Malaysia due to an increase in collection of duty on machinery and spare parts. In 2015, custom revenue of Malaysia via import duties increased to 2.73 billion ringgit Malaysia mainly due to improved duty collection for machinery and plastic products. Custom duty rose to 2.91 billion ringgit Malaysia in 2016 due to higher duty collection on CBU motor cars. In 2017, import duty fell to 2.78 billion ringgit Malaysia. Import duty increased to 2.9 billion ringgit Malaysia in 2018 and it dropped to 2.73 billion ringgit Malaysia in 2019 due to Malaysian government has introduced cuts on import duties for certain goods.
Graph 5 shows that Malaysian export duty collection during 2010 till 2019. In 2010, export duty increased to 1.810 million. Higher crude oil price, rubber and crude palm oil price lead to increased spending in rural areas and natural gas production. Rising demand from Japan and Taipei also contribute to this increase. In 2011, export duty was increased to 0.081 million due increase in crude palm oil price and rising demand for gas-powered energy and increased demand for Malaysian resources. In 2012, Malaysian export duty topped 1.968 million due decrease in crude oil export value and average price of crude palm oil. In 2013, export duty was decreased 1.929 million. This main cause was drop in crude oil price affecting the mining industry and natural gas output. In 2014 and 15, the duty export was decreased to 1.892 million and 1.039 million. This is because global crude oil price and decrease in agriculture sector due weather conditions. In 2016, duty export was decreased 0.980 million due lower global crude oil price and rising agriculture price and unfavorable weather. In 2017 and 18, duty export was increased to 1.355 million and 1.731 million due higher global crude oil price and supply-demand mismatch and weather-related disruption to food production. In 2019, export duty was decreased 1.121 million due lower global crude oil price, decrease in agriculture sector, and reduced fertilizer application and dry weather.
Malaysia's service tax revenue increased steadily from 2010 to 2014 as a result of growth in service sectors like telecommunications, accommodations, and professional services. There was also improved compliance with tax through improved tax enforcement and electronic filing. The revenue increased from 3.9 billion ringgit in 2010 to 6.2 billion ringgit in 2014. In 2015, the Goods and Services Tax (GST) was introduced by the government, removing the earlier sales and service tax regime. GST taxed more products and services, hence service tax was no longer levied on top. So its collection decreased from 3.03 billion ringgit in 2015 to just 103 billion ringgit in 2016. But not because of the slowing economy, instead replaced GST. Although GST aimed to increase transparency in process and discourage tax evasion, it was condemned by the people for increasing the cost of living. In 2018, under a change in government, the GST was removed and SST system was brought back. Since SST was only reintroduced in the fourth quarter of 2018, tax from services stood at 1.47 billion ringgit. This then went up to 12.28 billion ringgit in 2019 due to increased enforcement, electronic submission via MySST, and charging tax on foreign digital services like Netflix, Google, and Spotify. Generally, trends in service tax between 2010 and 2019 were characterized by profound reforms in taxation. In the future, Malaysia has the opportunity to raise revenue through widening the tax base and adapting to digital consumption habits for sustainable revenues.
Conclusion: from the data, we can see that the indirect tax increase, decrease, and lastly increase from the year 2010 to 2019. Despite the revenue from indirect taxes fluctuating slightly due to the policy changes and the global economic trends, it still is a stable source of income. recommendation. Firstly, the efficiency of tax collection must be increased through the investment in digital infrastructure, which would reduce tax evasion. Secondly, public awareness of consumer and business must be improved. It can increase the transparency and enhance cooperation with the tax authorities.